Soloing effectively in any style is a challenging pursuit, but most people find it especially so when dealing with various forms of Latin music. How do I make it sound authentic? Is the question I most often hear. There are actually some pretty simple guidelines for this, and the main one is start with the standard timekeeping rhythms common to that style. Let me show you what I mean. Let's start with Afro-Cuban music, like the mambo. I'd always heard and been told your solo should basically be over the clave pattern. I just couldn't get started with that. The rhythm was so basic, it just doesn't give you much to work with. And then one day I realized that if I used the cascara rhythm as a basis, it would all work out because it's based on the clave and it offers much more as a springboard for soloing than just a simple clave pattern. So let me show you what I mean. Here is the cascara in 3/2 form. Now let's play it on the smallest tom. I'll play it with a couple of different stickings, and to make it sound a bit more like a timbal, I'll play shallow rim shots. And I'll also play the basic bombo or tumbao pattern on the bass drum and quarter notes on the hi-hat to mark the time. See, it already sounds like something just by playing that basic pattern. Now, I'll move my hands around the drum set in more or less a random way to give it more contour and texture. All right. Even better, right? Now I'll substitute a couple of counts here and there with triplets, and I'll also pull the note values a bit. Pulling means I'm dealing with basically 16th note subdivisions, and I'm pulling them toward triplets, or triplets that I'm pulling toward 16ths. You'll hear what I mean, and I've got an entire video on that here on my YouTube channel that shows how to develop that. And needless to say, it's all covered in detail in my book. So without deviating that much from the basic cascara, we're soloing in a convincing manner. Here's something with a bit more fleshed out with even more variations, but still based on the cascara. Note that not every single measure or pattern must be exactly based on clave. It's just that in general it should be. And the thread of the clave should be woven throughout. So here it is. Now, let's turn our attention to Brazilian music with the samba. So we'll use the same rule here. We're going to solo over rhythms commonly found in samba. So let's take that familiar pattern played by the tamborim. Now, let's play it, go ahead and play it on the tom-tom. Now let's add some contour to it by playing the same rhythm as it would be played on agogo. Now let's play it again. This time I'm going to ghost the in-between notes in the left hand on the snare drum. So I'll play bass drum quarter notes and the hi-hat just to mark the time so you see what I'm doing here. Again. Now let's do it in a more of a soloistic manner. I'll play shallow rim shots on the smallest tom, and I'll move the right hand around on the other two toms more. It'll also kind of flesh it out a little bit and play a typical samba pattern on the bass drum. So here it is. It already sounds pretty good, right? And all we've got to do to make it a full-on solo is to change it up a bit, adding some variations without getting too far away from the character of the samba. Another cool thing that we can do is to take those same tambourine a-go-go rhythms and play them with the left hand while playing sixteenths with a shaker in the right hand. So it sounds like this. We can also, even move between the tom-tom and the snare drum, play kind of a partito alto feel. So here's what that sounds like. Now I'm going to just play kind of around the drums, still staying in samba, but moving around. I often finish solos with, Brazilian solos with a big samba or the batucada. Here's a couple of them. There's a couple of them in the book, and here's what one of those sounds like. All right. And it's a great cue to play when it's time for the band to come back in. They'll know that you're done, and you say, okay, I'm going to play this for 8 bars, and then the band hits, and it sounds very, very organized. Naturally, there are other solo devices that you can develop. Just maintain the character of the samba. Save your Buddy Rich chops for your big band jazz. And you want to sound characteristic, right? It'll add so much more atmosphere to the proceedings if you keep that in mind, whether it's Afro-Cuban or Brazilian. Okay, so let's see what you can develop with that. As always, thanks to my friends at Paiste Cymbals for their support over the years, and the Conservatory of Music and Dance at the University of Missouri at Kansas City, where I teach. And most of all, thanks for watching.